financial planning and financial advice is a relationship business, and you have to know your market. You should probably be bolder with your subject lines, like a little, like push the envelope, but make sure you pay it off relatively quickly. One of my favorite emails is why I think of your mom every night.
I want to teach somebody something interesting. You don't give them everything because you've got a service. So you don't want to tell them, here's exactly how my service works. That's boring. Nobody wants to hear how you're going to manage their money. When I teach advisors branding, I don't go down a list of here's all the things they need to do. I'll say, let me ask you a question. Do you know the name of the CEO of either Dodge, Chevy, or Ford, who happen to be the biggest American manufacturing car companies on the planet? And they'll say no.
No. Yeah, I don't think so.
And I'll say, do you know the name of the CEO of Tesla?
I got you.
Unfiltered with Matt Farnsworth.
What's up, everybody? It's Matt Farnsworth here. We're back on Unfiltered. We're with James Pollard. He is the advisor coach. And I found him, I was just telling him, I found him because I was online and I've created a business called streamlineleads.io. I was at Transamerica for a long time. I saw an opportunity in the advisor market to create a marketing system for them to help them automate their process, create a sales funnel and webinars that help them scale and sell. And in that process, I obviously am going to run into James Pollard, who's like got the amazing sales funnel himself. And I saw it. I said, I got to reach out to this guy. He's going to tell you how many books he's written, a tremendous amount of books, has been working with advisors for years. So I thought, I need to communicate with you, man. I need to touch base with you and just say hello. I thought a conversation was definitely in order, and we can definitely shed some light on marketing for advisors in the financial space, us communicating together. Well, let's start with where you're from. Like, where are you from? What are you all about, man? Like, what's your life like? Because this is Unfiltered, so we go personal as well.
So I am from Delaware, but I jokingly call the greatest state in the union, fastest Wi-Fi, a lot of beaches per capita, very fun. It's the second flattest state in the country. So I hate driving up and down and up and down. I just want a flat drive.
It is flat.
Yeah, it's perfect for me. I love that. I don't want to feel like I'm on a roller coaster when I'm driving. My life is pretty darn good. I've engineered it in such a way where I guess you can call it a lifestyle business. I have used my marketing skills long before I started helping financial advisors in 2015, have multiple businesses before then, and just had a passion for psychology and personal finance and marketing and, what is now called lifestyle business. I didn't know that that's what that was. I didn't even know. It didn't occur to me. So I just put words together that make people respond, and they respond, and I get paid for it, and they get more money than they pay me.
Financial advisors, they have a hard time with marketing, just in general. And I'm not trying to be rude, but I've seen it. I've worked in it. I told you I was at Transamerica for 3 years. Before that, my job there was to work with financial advisors, thousands of them over the last 6 years. It's like they don't have time for it, but it's absolutely mandatory for them to do. And so they kind of just sign up for like Advisor Stream or some Broadbridge program where they're just grabbing articles that everybody else has access to, or something like advisor websites. And it's like, okay, cool. But it's a generic website. So it's just your UVP on a website that doesn't really differentiate you from all of the other people that are using it, other than the color scheme and your UVP, with you maybe at a wedding taking a picture with someone shaking hands. I mean, for me, that has always been my argument to a lot of advisors to do better marketing and to focus on it a little bit more, is to say you have to differentiate yourself if you want to be successful, because you and I both know 73% of advisors fail within the first 3 years. So why is that? Like, do you agree that there's like this wave out there where there's this unconscious thing where they have this tough time getting over that hurdle to start really branding and creating that differentiation for themselves?
Yeah, there are a lot of psychological reasons for it. Maybe they don't truly believe in what they're doing. They don't believe in themselves. They don't think that they're worthy. I mean, we don't have time to go into all of that today. I also think that a lot of people feel as if marketing is somehow wrong, or they shouldn't do it, or they shouldn't, or maybe they feel entitled because they believe that they shouldn't have to do it, that they're so good, they're so credentialed and experienced that people should come to them. I've seen that. So there's a wide variety of reasons why they don't market, why they don't get involved in marketing and selling and all the stuff that comes with it. those are some of the biggest reasons that I've noticed. I've also noticed that even the advisors who get into marketing, so you have a whole segment that doesn't even get into marketing at all. Then the people who do, a fraction of those people don't get results and they stop because they feel like they should get results right away. For some reason, I don't know. They tell their clients that they should invest early and often and wait for a whole bunch of years in order to reap the rewards of their investments. But when it comes to their marketing, they want a 10x return the next day. Something to think about. Maybe that's contradictory. Maybe that's maybe that is psychologically sabotaging.
Yeah.
But there's also a fraction of people who get into marketing and it doesn't work simply because they don't have any credibility. There's no real reason for people to believe them, for them to be trusted. There's no reason for their marketing to work. Like, I can't sell you. Let me say I have these ear protection and I say, this is going to work. Just trust me, bro. Like, it's not going to work. I have to tell you something. I have to be a marketer. Like, this is designed from this special material, which the world's loudest concerts use for insulation. So the nursing home next door can sleep peacefully at night. You would be like, holy crap, that's the best, ear protection I can possibly buy. And so there has to be something there. I'll give you one example and then I'll shut up. So sometimes financial advisors will choose a niche because I say that, everyone says that, you're supposed to do it, I guess. And they will say, okay, James, I'm going to work with astronauts. It's like, okay, do you know anything about astronauts? No. Have you ever been an astronaut? No. Is there any reason why they should trust you? No. Well, the marketing probably isn't going to work because you have no proof of concept there. Those are the big reasons why I see where it just doesn't work and it fizzles out.
Yeah. Well, that's where the coaching comes in, right? Brings to mind recently this website I saw where they were trying to do niche marketing. Like, there was an advisor trying to do niche marketing, advisor websites again. And it was like navigating you through the difficult waters of divorce. And then it was like a forest behind them and the image. And what you're saying is so true. Instead of it just saying, oh, navigating you through the difficult waters of divorce, why not, like, I'm going to show you the secrets to eating steak while continuing to eat steak while you're going through a divorce, right? There are they need to be able to sell, but they have like a hard time activating that muscle that you teach and that I know as well to help them sell. So it's about a story. Why are you teaching? Why are you doing this particular niche? Well, maybe they went through a terrible divorce. I think, like you said too, it's like, okay, I don't want to put myself out there personally per se, but when you're trying to gain the trust of a client, you're going to have to put yourself out there personally a little bit in order to gain that trust. And what I see in the advisor space is that the client already understands that the advisor knows numbers.
Yep.
So where's the personal side? And I feel like advisors, sometimes they miss on that personal side where it's like, here's my personal touch. Here's who I am. Like you said, was my heart really there? And they have a hard time finding that connection.
I mean, even from a marketing perspective, financial planning and financial advice is a relationship business, and you have to know your market. I'll give you a copywriting example. Let's say that I'm selling a memory product and I Google best headline templates and I find something that says like include a number and a benefit and a promise and how to, all formulaically fantastic ways to build a headline. So we have 7 proven ways to improve your marketing. That is a formulaic headline that marketers will tell you, dang, that's pretty good. But let's say you know your market and you change your headline to, have you ever walked in a room and forgotten why you walked in? Then you've got them, because that is something that the market can instantly relate to. And that develops instant trust, credibility, and rapport simply because you know them. You would never be able to come up with that headline about forgetting what you walked into a room for unless you knew what that was like, or talk to someone who told you that this is something that happens because I have poor memory. And that headline will likely perform a lot better than any formula you can possibly get. So when you're talking about like the cookie cutter marketing and cookie cutter website, a way to just be better than that is to know your market and tailor your marketing specifically for your market.
I agree. And plus it's relatable, right? So that's a great hook. That thought of, hook, retain, reward is not necessarily part of the advisor landscape language. We're coming from a place of old school, a lot of times print materials, walking into an office and selling people. And I just find that we're moving into a different space. And I'm sure what you're teaching your clients is about how to exactly what you're saying right here, differentiate yourself, establish your market, understand your market, how to sell from the heart, how to teach your clients what you can do for them and how you can effectively do it without really sounding preachy.
Salesy,
Yeah,
or yeah,
salesy,
preachy.
preaching. We all know that really what we need to do is create educational content masked as entertainment, right? Or would it be entertainment masked as education, one or the other? And so a lot of this is trying to teach them how to entertain. That's kind of where I come from. And that's why I like webinars for advisors. I don't know how you feel about webinars in terms of them creating and establishing their thought leadership. Say they're at a conference or something and you've got, 50 guys in Navy suits, but you've got one guy that's got this really interesting, really great webinar that has a good hook, that is nichey, that has, some secrets for people, but doesn't give away everything. And he can hand that card out with a scan code on it. And it's like totally different than the others. Is that with calls to action, with indoctrination, with automation? Is that guy going to stand out more than, say, the other guys who are just, there with the print material doing a pitch?
Yeah. I used to do a ton of webinars. I got rid of all my webinars in October of 2023 for various reasons. I mean, there's a lot. That was right for me. It's probably not going to be right for 99% of the people who are listening to this. So if you're doing webinars, please keep doing them. But I like webinars simply because of their ability to scale and your ability to test. Because if let's say you have a webinar and it could be a generic-ish video presentation, but you change the title and you change it to make it very niche specific. So it could be like targeting pre-retirees in Tampa, Florida, and blended families in Tennessee. You could do whatever you want and create separate pages going to the same webinar and get higher conversions. And I mean, even in the finance space, you could probably do this by saying independent financial advisors. You could probably say, I'm looking, I can only accept 10 people in this county or this state. I mean, the sky's the limit for what you could do with something like that. It's a great way to build credibility. I'm not so sure if I agree with the teaching aspect. I am very anti-teaching. Now, what I mean by that is I'm anti making it feel like you're just sitting there rattling off concepts and this is lesson one. This is okay. So good. That's good. Mm-hmm. But you can teach in a way that shifts people's philosophy. You can teach in a way that shifts people's belief on whether they should hire a financial advisor. Not necessarily, here are 5 things you should know about a Roth IRA. Whenever I see that sort of stuff, I'm not a fan.
No, I'm not either. But if you're going to teach somebody, you want to teach somebody something interesting, you don't give them everything because you've got a service. So you don't want to tell them, here's exactly how my service works. That's boring. Nobody wants to hear how you're going to manage their money. When I teach advisors branding, I don't go down a list of here's all the things they need to do. I'll say, let me ask you a question. Do you know the name of the CEO of either Dodge, Chevy, or Ford, who happen to be the biggest American manufacturing car companies on the planet? And they'll say no.
No. Yeah, I don't think so.
And I'll say, do you know the name of the CEO of Tesla?
I got you.
Why do we know Tesla? And why is Tesla so popular when really it shouldn't even be the number one electric car company in the world? And it outsells all 3 of those brands combined. Why is that? And that's because Elon Musk knows how to personal brand. He knows how to create a brand. Why does Boeing lose a contract to Elon Musk and now SpaceX has that contract? It has a lot to do with personal branding. Mm-hmm. And so that's an effective way to sell, right? Versus just trying to teach them, here's the things you need to do, right? And then you give them the format to do it. So that's kind of how my approach has always been. But I know you're a writer. I mean, I've read your emails. They're engaging. You've got really great hooks. And how do you come up with that? What's the process like?
A lot of times what I will do is I will start with a general idea that I think will be interesting to people. For example, today's email is about why successful financial advisors can make terrible mentors. So I started with that idea and then I fleshed it out. Sometimes I will start with a subject line. And here's a tip for financial advisors who are listening. You should probably be bolder with your subject lines. Like a little, like push the envelope, but make sure you pay it off relatively quickly. One of my favorite emails is why I think of your mom every night. And that's the subject line. Now, the way I pay that off is
Uh-huh.
at night, I like to read. So I read in bed
Mhm.
and I read sales books and marketing books, obviously. And whenever I read about a sales technique, I filter it through the lens of, would I use this on my mother or someone's mother?
Yeah.
So that is the content of the email, but the subject line is why I think of your mom every night.
Yeah, but that hooks
And
them. That's like, what? Like
yes.
right away.
But what's funny is some of them don't do as well. Like there's a fine line, and I can't teach this. It can only come from experience. I had a subject line, my wife thinks these financial advisors are smoking crack. Horrible. Did not do well at all.
Yeah.
But why I think of you in the shower, fantastic. Has been stolen by a lot of people, actually. One of my inner circle members has a subject line like finance lessons from a strip club. I think that's what it is that does well for him. You could literally just sit down and start writing out the most outlandish subject lines you can possibly think of that would make people stop in their tracks, and then build an email around that.
Dude,
You probably do a lot better.
That's a great idea. Why I think about you in the shower. That's a good one.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
So the reason that is I have I have speakers in my shower, and I listen to my podcast to make sure that there are no mistakes. And I do it because I want to go above and beyond. I want to make sure that it's actually something that they would like to consume. So I'm thinking about them and their experience while I'm taking a shower.
So why financial advisors? Like what got you into that space, right? We didn't really touch on that. You were marketing, you were creating lifestyle. You said you were working on direct marketing. What got you into the advisor thing?
So one of my friends was a financial advisor and asked me, so I was doing marketing at a casino before that, had my own business. I had a gym style business. I had a personal finance business. I had an affiliate marketing business that we kind of briefly referenced, and was pretty darn good at the marketing thing. Now, the reason I was working at the casino and doing the marketing at this casino was because my family members were involved and they saw the stuff that I was doing in businesses before. They were like, holy crap, you were doing so well at this marketing stuff. Why don't you come into this environment here and help us with this? So I was like, okay, kind of stupid. Don't live your life based on obligations to other people. Kind of, a lesson that some people need to learn the hard way, including me. I loved it, but it was kind of a waste of time.
Yep.
And so I had a friend who saw that and was like, hey, you should probably help us here in my team and grow. Very similar to your story, actually. And I got a referral from that guy, got another referral, and then I realized I should probably take this show on the road. So I started the Advisor Coach, and the reason it's called the Advisor Coach is because I was coaching one-on-one, realized that I wasn't really a big fan of that after like a year and a half-ish.
Why not?
I was just repeating myself and saying the same things over and over because I had a process that worked. And I don't know whether it was a combination of really wanting these people to get results and not really wanting to experiment. I experiment a lot these days, but with coaching one-on-one, I was like, do this, do this, do this, do this. And it just got old. And I had a waiting list. I felt kind of bad just ending it and leaving people on the waiting list, but I just stopped and then started packaging stuff up. So just as I had that thought, let me take this show on the road, I was like, I should probably package up my information. So I wrote this little book called The Ultimate Financial Advisor's Guide to Getting More Clients. That did pretty well in the financial advice space. This was 2016. And then more products followed. And then in 2018, I started writing something called the Inner Circle newsletter, which is probably the second most common thing that I'm known for after email marketing. They know me for the actual newsletter. And that has been going ever since. And the reason I love that is because I can do different stuff every month. And I have direct email access to financial advisors. I've had 10,000 plus back and forth conversations through email with Inner Circle members, and it's private. The reason that's so powerful is, unlike a conference or a mastermind group or a public seminar, they will tell me the real stuff. Like I will know if they feel trepidatious, if they feel nervous, if they're not making as much money as they were. They're not going to sit in front of a group and be like, hey, my life kind of sucks.
No,
it just doesn't happen. And I guess if it does, they're not telling you the whole story. Trust me. And that is awesome, where I can actually help. It's kind of like Imagine if you had to go to your doctor or your attorney in front of a group. You would never want to do that. You never tell them the real stuff. So having that private connection is, I wanted to make sure I kept that, because that is really why the newsletter is better than anything else on the market, because I'm operating from real data, from real financial advisors. And at this point, it's turned into like a behemoth.
Wow, that's great. Do you do that? So do you do email, or you like have Slack or Discord or text message? Do you let your clients have access in that way, or is it just email?
Just email. I'm a human too, and I'm not super duper social. I'm kind of, there have been times where I'm like, wow, I want to get rid of the email, but I realize it's the heart and soul. I'm actually increasing the price on January 1st. It's going from $99 a month to $199, because I actually want to slow down the, the new financial advisors that come in so I can keep the email access. Right. And
Yeah.
some days I spend 2 hours answering questions by email, and that sort of sucks. Like, that's not fun. If, like, the actual task of it isn't fun, getting the data, oh, so fun, because I'm just building and building and building. And I know that the more data I have, the better the next issue is going to be, and the better the next issue is going to be. And I'm at a point now where it's just unbelievably good. So price increase because I just want to slow that down.
You have value
Let's,
there. You've got enough information that you can really help these advisors scale. That's what they
yeah.
want, right? They want access to you, and do they send you, what kind of questions do they ask you?
Oh my goodness. Some of the most common ones, I mean, we talk about direct mail and paid ads and seminars and presentations and email. A lot of direct mail questions lately. So, what should my headline look like? Shocker, you may not even need to have a headline. You might want to make your direct mail look personal. The I wrote 2 direct mailers for financial advisors recently, and only one of them had a headline. So something to think about.
When
This
you say
morning,
personal, what does that, like, walk me through what that looks like? So when you say, okay, it's just a personal, it's not a headline, what would that
Mhm.
look like on a direct mail? So you're talking about the outside of the package when it arrives?
No, the letter, the outside of the package looks like this. And so it would have your address, the return address, and then their address and a stamp, and that's it.
And then inside, the no headline means it's just straight up, it's not like, hello, greetings. It's just like, bam, here's the letter. We're into it.
Oh, well, no, I mean, there's like dear friend or dear
Okay.
whoever.
Okay.
It's just not like 10 ways you should plan for your retirement in 2025. None of that.
No
It's just a
H1
straight
header.
up letter.
Okay. Straight up
Yeah.
in. Okay. That makes sense. Because some of our emails, the way we do email marketing now, we just jump right into it.
Yeah.
Occasionally that works.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason that you can write with the preview text in mind, and that will help quite a bit. But they ask a lot of questions about direct mail, a lot of questions about niche marketing, like how to choose a niche, how they should think about it. What's interesting is, so I recently did a podcast episode with the most common things that I tell financial advisors. And the reason I recorded that episode was so I can get faster at answering these emails. Because if they ask me these questions, I'll say, my response to you would be response number 4, listen to this. And so some of the stuff that I say is like, that won't matter at all. Like, they obsess, some of them, not all of them, obsess over just tiny little details. Now, I love detail oriented people. I'm extremely detail oriented, but truthfully, wondering about whether you should sign an email with kind regards or warm regards doesn't matter. They also ask questions. I get this a lot, so much. What is the average blank? What is the average open rate? What is the average click-through rate? What is the average response rate? And it kills me. And I just get so upset with this because it doesn't matter. It does not matter. Let's say that you're profitable and your open rates are in the toilet. So what? Let's say that you have the best open rates in the world, but you're not profitable. Okay. Are you proud of yourself? Is that what you want?
Yeah.
So that is a very common question. What is the average? I don't know where it comes from. I don't have that mindset. I don't think in terms of what is the average for none of that. So I can't relate, but I get that all the time.
No. Well, they get in the weeds. I have to be careful. I have a lot of beautiful ideas, and a lot of times those ideas can get me in big trouble because I start creating all kinds of different stuff. And I believe there is a neural pathway in our brain. I think Huberman talked about this recently, where we get into the weeds and we can't finish something. So we start a bunch of different little projects here and there that we begin. We
That
never
makes so much
finish.
sense.
Yeah. And then it creates a train wreck. Actually, the neural pathway looks like a train wreck in your brain. But if you're able to follow through on what you initially set out to do, complete it, it looks like a beautiful, smooth, straight train track all the way through. And the more that you do this, the more you create these breakups and these car crashes and these train wrecks, the more you have trouble actually ever finishing. And so the idea that people get caught in the weeds on should it be kindest regards, best, and
Yes.
all of that's minutia. That's where you have to just like let go. Even outsourcing, like letting other people, delegating tasks to other people can be a very important topic as well when you're trying to be a leader. And so that comes up for me quite a bit too, should I be delegating? What should I do in terms of delegation, and what should I be handling? What shouldn't I be handling? I don't know if they ever ask about that. Do some of these
Oh,
guys have,
yes,
yeah.
all the time. I delegate a lot, but I'm not naive to the idea that, or the fact that, like, Superman doesn't outsource his superpowers, and there's a reason. And I don't remember the study. I have it in How Successful Financial Advisors Think, which is that one. No one can see it, so I guess it doesn't matter. There's a study which basically found that the most successful entrepreneurs and the most successful Fortune 500 executives do not delegate creative work ever. Like, the studies have been done. This has been proven. They do not delegate the thinking part and the creative part of the business. It just does not happen. So anyone who believes, oh, I can delegate the creative part of marketing and building out this stuff, wrong. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's not my theory, it's not my opinion. It just doesn't exist in the real world with successful people. And so I get a lot of that. I also get a lot of script request, and people will say, well, what should I say word for word when messaging someone on LinkedIn? It's like, have a conversation with someone. Like, would you do that in real life? Would you want a script to just go from this person to this person to this person? No. Like, some of them, and I love my inner circle members. When I'm talking about this, I'm talking about like the bad apples, because when you have any sort of business that has like any sort of scale, if your marketing is good enough, the wrong sorts of people will squeak through, a few every month.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the ones who ask these sorts of things. They'll ask, can you give me a word for word template when doing whatever? Like, no, because it depends on your market, and it depends on you, and it depends on the vibe of the situation. There's just certain things that no one can get, and I can give you. I can't give it to you. Some other coach, guru, consultant, whoever can't give it to you. A lead gen agency can't give it to you. And I feel so disheartened sometimes, because I know that if they get frustrated with me, they're going to go to someone else, and that person's going to say, it's okay, here's this word for word script you can use. And it's going to suck. It's not going to do as well.
They're not going to click on it. That's the problem. You're not going to get the click through rate you want when it's not organic. I have a high ticket coach. I have somebody that's very high ticket coach. I totally believe in it. I go in there, and when I met with him, he was like, you have no idea how many people will blow that kind of money with me, sit down with me, and literally say, okay, let's come up with an idea for a business. It's like, no, you have to have the freaking idea for the business. I'm here to help you scale that business. And I feel like you're saying the exact same thing with advisors and sometimes marketing. You have to do the work. I saw that so much. They just want to be doing the financial advising and not creating the brand around themselves from that place that is organic, that will actually get people's attention. You have to give a piece of yourself when you create. When you create your company, when you start your company, you have a passion for that. There has to be a reason why you became a financial advisor. What was that reason? And then who are your ideal clients? You're talking about like the avatar. Who is that? And if you can't define that avatar, who is that ideal client? What are their fears? What are their fears, frustrations, and desires? If you can't answer that question, then how are you ever even going to know your niche?
Yeah.
You probably aren't. And
No.
I see that so much too. So you and I have the exact same story in terms of the frustrations with the advisors who think that they can just outsource this really important part of their process. When I did it with the company I worked for early on that took off and blew up, I knew the guy. Like the guy who ran it, he was a family friend. Like I knew him really well. And so I knew the vision for the company, and it was a little bit easier for me to help them build a brand. But if you're not there working like almost full time helping them, there's no way you're going to be able to do it for them. So they have to take that marketing on. And do you find so often they're like, I just want something that's just really easy, like really low, just whatever's the easiest for me. I don't want to have to spend time doing it.
Well, that's a curse. I mean, that's been around for thousands of years. I mean, the Bible talks about wanting something for nothing, think and grow rich by Napoleon Hill talks about one of the chief reasons or causes of failure is the desire of something for nothing. It happens all the time. I'll share a little something that I've discovered about personal wealth building. When it comes to outsourcing, if you want to maximize your chances of growing personally wealthy, that's one of the things that I stress in the newsletter. I actually wrote about that this morning. It'll be in the January issue. You should outsource stuff in your personal life first. You should outsource laundry, dishes, house cleaning, car detailing, little things like going to the DMV, get power of attorney, have someone else do that. Grocery pickup, grocery delivery. Outsource as much as you can in your personal life, not your business. So many people think that they should outsource in their business first, and then they still do silly little things all over their house and their personal life. No, outsource in your personal life. Stick to your superpowers. You're building the business for a reason. And even if you're not, this is so important. Even if you're not good at something in your business, you should still do it at least at first, and avoid outsourcing it, because that way you have more data and information about your entire business system that you can use to improve in the future. If you just outsource and forget about it, you don't have that data. You don't have that insight. You can't see around corners as well. So that's a lesson to help people with their personal wealth. And sometimes I don't want to sound arrogant or anything. I really don't, because I mean, people already think I'm kind of arrogant. I don't know why. I don't know how they got that. It's the character I play on the Financial Advisor Marketing Podcast. But sometimes I'm just like, okay, you're reaching out to me for a reason. I have a pretty decent life. I can do almost anything I want, whenever I want, with whoever I want. I don't answer to anyone. I haven't answered to anyone in 15 plus years. And even then I really didn't answer. I mean, I could walk away at any time. I never have to ask anyone for vacation or any, like imagine asking a grown man, please, sir or ma'am, or a grown woman, can I please have this day off? And they're like, no, I rule your life. Come on. I'm not with that. So yeah. I have this life set up, and if you're a financial advisor in the United States, there's a greater than 99% chance that you've seen my marketing. So maybe I know a little bit about marketing, but I want to say that sometimes and be like, you can continue what you're doing and have the results that you're doing, or you can listen to me. That message is not well received.
No. Yeah. I can imagine. I'm polarized.
But I mean, that's what goes on in here sometimes. I'm just like, if you just listen to what I'm telling you, you will get better results.
Yeah. Well, you're real. People don't want to hear the truth.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. People make a lot of money telling people what they want to hear. That's a business strategy. If financial advisors don't know that, that is a business strategy that people do and use to make a ton of money. Just tell you what you want to hear.
Well, yeah, that's what most of the marketing firms in finance do.
Yeah. There's this easy way. You can outsource it. We'll take care of it. We've done all the hard work for you. I mean, it's just, for the most part, a pipe dream.
Yeah. They're creating those crappy email templates that don't do anything. That's exactly what's happening. And they're getting sold that, by the way, because they're not doing the work that you're talking about. And you're right about I mean, I agree with everything. The home is where it starts. It's the process, and it's a repeatable process that you develop, and it's habits. So I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. I start working. You know, I don't stop. 4:35 a.m. I'm up, I go. This is how I operate. I lift weights every single day. I do not stop. Resilience, I'm not going to give that up. No matter how I'm feeling, even if I'm having a bad day, this is part of the deal. You know, I think a lot of people out there, they want to scale their business. They want to do really well. And if they can't see their toes over their stomach, that can actually be causing them a problem in their business because they're not feeling well. And they don't realize it. And I'm seeing that more and more in my work with people in my independent space. And I love being independent again. I was independent for 25 years. I was in LA making movies. I didn't answer anybody. I was the director, producer, executive producer of most of these things. There's a few times early on when I was an actor auditioning for huge things that I had to deal with it, but I didn't like it. And that's why I never made it, because I couldn't do the things they were asking me to do moralistically, because they wanted control. And I don't like that either. I want to be in control of my own destiny in terms. And they used to say, I remember in Hollywood, they used to say, well, it seems like you really want this on your terms. And I'd be like, yeah, I kind of do. And
Yeah.
so that's how I've always been. And so you can imagine how hard corporate was for me. It was like, I really had to have a lot of humility, because you can see that it's fall to the middle. Everyone in the corporate position, they all are a cog in this machine, and they're working for something that I guess they've convinced themselves to believe in.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's really weird, because I've worked outside of it, and a lot of people have been indoctrinated into it for so long. They don't recognize that machine doesn't care about them, but they've also learned to fall to the middle. Never do anything unique. Never do anything outside the box. Make sure you stay in your lane, because if you go outside of that, you're very likely to get fired. It's really weird. And I'm glad that I was actually let go, because I was like a breath of fresh air. I was like, the next day I woke up with a spring in my step. No more Teams calls. No more wasted time sitting in a meeting for an hour where I punch in 2 sentences and listen to everybody talk. That was literally, it was destroying my soul. And I think that you mentioned something else that was interesting, which was you brought God in for just a second. And
That's true. Yeah.
That's where I live in that space. So I'm polarizing in that way, because I just gave my testimony to a church group 2 days ago. So I'm, Christian, gospel driven, and I'm always shocked, and this is very true, by how many intelligent people claim to be very intelligent, but they haven't read the #1 book of all time. And they'll even talk about it. And I don't want to go too far into this. I don't want, it's not a biblical podcast, but I believe, and it's interesting that the people that claim to be super intelligent a lot of times haven't read that. I've had these discussions with people that are, theological, and about 20 minutes in, I'll say, have you read the gospel? And they'll say, no. How can we have an educated discussion?
Consider it like this. So self-development teacher, philosopher, Jim Rohn said that if you lean towards a certain religion or theology, you should go all in on it. And I started thinking about that and doing research on it. And I realized it's because if you already lean to it, you have all of these unconscious cues and motivators that are ready to be harnessed. Like if you're already kind of sort of in lockstep with Christian theology, like if you really believe that Jesus is God and Jesus tells you, like, ask and you shall receive, like knock and the door be open. Like if you really believe that unconsciously and you start setting goals, things are going to be way different for you, because you're leaning into something that you believe is a rock solid bedrock foundation of your reality.
When you buy in to something like that, it does change the way your life works, the things you focus on, your ability to focus, the outside noise, and the burden that exists, because there's a lot of warfare that goes on out there. And I never really knew what that was until I read the gospel, and I was like, oh, wow, this has felt like a tremendous burden, because I didn't understand it. And so it's been kind of a great thing for me. And it's a great marketing book, by the way, too, because it helps temper you,
Yes,
in
absolutely.
terms of sales and marketing and your personal composure. You're tempered, and for me that was a big gift. So, yeah, and that's kind of one of the reasons. That's why I contacted you as well. I did see that post that you made about half of, like, people hated me for this. Some people actually gave me a really hard time for, putting my religious viewpoint out there and letting them know what I believe. And it's so interesting. It's not interesting. It's actually believable, because we know that as Christians, part of the deal is you're going to get attacked. That's how it works.
It comes with the territory.
It does.
And it is a great marketing resource. I actually have a video training called Financial Advisor Marketing Wisdom from the Bible at theadvisorcoach.com/Bible. And but with the unconscious thing, like I was saying, for example, like in Proverbs, it says, "Cursed is the man who holds back grain," and I know that we all have grain to offer. You have to give that to people. Like your financial advice is your metaphorical grain. The services, the skills that you offer, like my products and services are the grain. I'm offering that stuff. I sell hard in quotes here because I don't want to be cursed. Like
Mhm.
unconsciously, that is what is going on. And I'm just pushing that. So I have bought into that hook, line, and sinker. And some people think like that's kind of dumb, or why do you believe in talking serpents or whatever? I mean, I've heard it all.
Mhm.
But as a utilitarian tool to improve my life, it's worked. Setting aside the gospel, setting aside the religious or the resurrection, even just as a tool, like pure hedonism, making my life better, it's worked for me.
But I do want to talk about the email marketing. So I know you pitched this. You're like, dude, email marketing is where it is at. That is where the conversions happen, and there's touch points. There's X amount of touch points you have before anything is going to happen. You've got to be reaching out. How often should advisors be sending out nurture campaigns? How does that work? I mean, I know a lot about it, but I want to hear from your side what you think, what you know works, and what you've seen work with advisors and email marketing.
Whenever I ask financial advisors, how do you think you can help people more? Do you think you can help them more by giving them a ton of information and teaching them in emails or any content, really? Social media, it doesn't matter, just content. Or do you think you can help them more once they're actually clients? I've never had anyone sincerely tell me that they can help them more by teaching an email and social media and websites. So we've established that you, as a financial advisor, can help people, your fellow human, more when they're clients. So I believe you have a moral and ethical obligation to make them clients. Now, when people are involved in any marketing material, especially email marketing, they have reasons for not moving forward. The goal of email is to take those reasons away. It is not to inform. It is not to give a market update. None of that. It is to take the reasons away. So my email marketing philosophy is it's story-based entertainment, yes, but it's also objection handling.
Mhm.
Let's say that someone is intimidated by the process. So I did some research in 2023, and I found that the number one reason why people don't hire financial advisors is broadly categorized as intimidation, meaning they don't know what to expect. They have been burned in the past. They think the advisor is going to talk down to them. So a whole bunch of little reasons like that I have lumped under the umbrella of intimidation. So let's say someone is intimidated by the appointment setting process. The email's job is to, in that particular case, reduce the intimidation. So explain exactly what the person is going to get, exactly what the meeting is going to look like, exactly what you're going to ask, make it as transparent as possible. The reason you're doing that is to take the reason why they wouldn't book an appointment away from them. Let's say that someone says that they don't have time. So people say that all the time for financial advisors. I'm too busy. I'm going to do this later. Well, the financial advisor can write an email talking about how he or she felt like he or she didn't have enough time for something. I really needed to take my car in for maintenance, but I didn't have enough time. I was so busy. My kids wanted this. My wife wanted this. The dog was sick. All of these things were happening. I felt like it was too busy. I was too busy, but I realized that this was important. I had to get it done or face the consequences of being broken down on the side of the road, having to call AAA, and it would take a lot more time if I didn't address it. That's kind of like financial planning. You might feel like you're too busy right now and you have all these things going on, but the consequences of not getting it in order now are going to be so dire later, just like if I didn't take my car in. So I took my car in even when I thought I was busy. And that's a story. That's entertainment. That's not personal financial advice. That's not investment advice. That has nothing to do with money whatsoever, which means compliance usually likes it. And that takes that reason away. So that's how successful emails work, is you have a sequence I recommend 5 to 12 emails simply because the majority of conversions happen after 5. They tend to drop off after 12 of touch points. So that could be direct mail, social media, email, whatever. But I like to get to 5 in email simply because it covers all of your bases.
Mm-hmm.
And you could, if let's say you only wrote 5, so you would have number 1 would be your welcome email. Thank you for subscribing. Here's the thing that you got.
Right.
Thank you so much for joining my world. And then a little bit of credibility. Then email number 2 would be the most common objection you get, whatever that is. Email number 3, second most common objection, and so on and so forth. And the idea is that once people get to the end of the sequence, hopefully all of their reasons for not working with you are taken away. So now it's put up or shut up time. When you get to the end of your sequence, you can rest assured and your conscience can be clear, going back to the green thing, that you have done everything in your power to get someone to become a client. If that person does not become a client, it is not because of anything you did. It is 100% on them. So you can move forward boldly. You can have a clean conscience, a clear conscience.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel good about the work that you're doing in the world.
Like six contact points in, 7 contact points in. They're there.
I mean, about that.
That makes a lot of sense. I like the idea that you are nurturing them to understand who you are, what you're about. Build trust.
Yes.
Here's who I am. I'm not just selling you on this service. I'm showing you who I am.
It has to be genuine. I would never make this up. I would never just be like, I would never use this as a tactic simply to make it work. But the more you talk about yourself, let's say that in some of my marketing, not just email, because some financial advisors get so fixated on this. They're like, okay, well, you recommended this for email, but does it apply elsewhere? Yes. Yes, because I focused on strategies, not tactics. Let's say that sometime I talk about Lord of the Rings. And then another time I talk about professional wrestling. And then another time I talk about 90s hip hop. Okay. So imagine if I have a group of 100 people that all hear this message. Some of them like Lord of the Rings and they build a connection with me. Some of them like pro wrestling. Some of them like 90s hip hop. And all of that's good. All of that builds rapport. But let's say that there's someone in that group that likes all 3 of those things. Well, holy mackerel.
Yeah.
You have
an
outstanding connection with that person because that person now sees himself or herself in you. Mm-hmm. And that is where a lot of the magic happens. Yeah. And that's why, so transparently, some of the most recent podcast episodes that I've done haven't done as well as the old ones because I've gotten out of the habit of talking about myself. so I've forgotten this. I need to get back on that horse. Yep. And people have asked me, like, why are you talking about this stuff? It has nothing to do with marketing. Well, that's why. It's because it builds a personal connection with the audience.
My podcast does really well when I get on and do a solo podcast and talk about my story of having a car accident in 2014 where I died, was brought back, and ended up in recovery, turned my life around after having about $10 in the bank and an alcohol problem. And now I'm very successful. That vibes with people. They love to hear that story. That's great. But that also builds trust. They're like, oh, wow. They buy in that way. They're like, who is this guy? What is this about? I think that's really finding your story is so important in what you're talking about. Who am I? What am I about? And I think until you know you and how to tell stories, you're going to have a hard time marketing. You're going to have a hard time selling if you're not good at telling stories.
Marketing really comes down to this. How many people you get in front of, and then the conversion rate, whatever that is, whatever you're measuring. In this case, it's appointment set. It could be the amount of messages you want to get. It could be the number of clicks on an ad. It could be clients. I mean, I like clients. It could be profitability. I love that too. Whatever you're trying to measure, it's just a number of people you get in front of and the conversion rate. Mm-hmm. And if you get in front of more people, all else being equal, you're going to make more money. If you have a higher conversion rate, then all else being equal, you're going to make more money. So if you do both of them together, it's so simple. Like it just really is. Like if you think of it in those terms, then you're going to make a lot more money. And that's all it comes down to. So if you have a greater personal brand and people relate to you and they're more likely to reach out to you, then take that and get it in front of more people. However you do that, with direct mail, with social, with email, with SEO, with seminars, with anything, just get it in front of more people and you'll make more money.
Absolutely. Give them free stuff too. It doesn't hurt to give them a lead magnet. It never hurts on my side anyway that I've seen. in my marketing efforts to give away some free content, free information that's actually valuable, like that's actionable.
Sometimes I have a bunch of free lead magnets, so I would be a hypocrite if I said that I'm not a fan of free, because I am.
Right.
I'm working on a lead magnet right now called, as of right now, it's going to be called 5 Marketing Moves Every Financial Advisor Should Make in 2025. And that'll probably do okay. I like lead magnets that are longer. I like lead because of the mere exposure effect. The more time people spend with you, the more likely they are to become clients. It builds trust a little bit more. It signals credibility. There are a whole bunch of reasons why that works. The newsletter, I think the bulk of my conversions come from email for the newsletter, and that kind of makes sense because I have so many people on my email list and they open and read. And the newsletter is fun because it's, in marketer speak, a product launch every month. So there's a deadline. It's the 30th, the 31st, or in February, the 28th or 29th of the month. It's real. Like every month there's a real deadline, not a marketer deadline that ends when, and then you refresh the page and it's back. No, I operate based on the calendar. That's a real deadline. The newsletter is really going out on the 1st. So I have a cool way to instill urgency that's 100% real and 100% legitimate every single month. So that is nice. I've always thought it was interesting and kind of sad that, I have a decent conversion rate, but in marketer terms, let's say decent is 5%. 5% would be mind blowing, especially with all of the resistance that I put in there. But that means 95% of the financial advisors don't join. And that's really sad to me because they get involved in my world. It's obviously financial advisor marketing. They're obviously interested in financial advisor marketing. I have a whole bunch of proof, or at least I think I do. I guess maybe I don't if they don't convert. But, and the product is $99 per month. The people literally give investment advice for a living. It's going to be at $199. But they give investment advice for a living. Assuming they have real businesses, it should be tax deductible as well. They get direct email access to me. We have monthly Zoom calls together where they can ask you, like assuming you have any sort of real business with problems that you'd like to solve, even a tiny itty bitty problem should be worth the money. And it's a little bit of like a sad day when you realize that a lot of financial advisors are like, no, me no need help. Me, you go away. Me no need it. And
I dealt with it at Transamerica. I dealt with it in the financial advisor world. There's a lot of, sorry, advisors, there's some egotism out there. There's some high level egotism at times that I've dealt with. The only people I've ever really been sort of cursed at for really sort of low level stuff, just things that were not taken care of instantly that didn't really need to be, was the financial advisor. Gave me a hard time. Strange, but it happened. And I think there's something there with the brain, the way it works. These are guys that are working on numbers constantly. They're not in the emotional world a lot. And part of the goal really is to create, I believe, in the financial advisor space, an economy of engagement versus just an economy of analytics. Okay, here's how I'm going to do your numbers. It's sort of like building an experience.
Oh yeah,
for
totally.
Clients, and I think they're learning that slowly. Oh, I have to build an experience if I want to sell. I need to niche down, figure out what my main service is. What do I sell the most of? Double down on that, build an experience around that, client events around that, and help not just teach my clients how to manage their money, but how to actually improve their lives.
Hey, that's where the value is. And it's very meta. What I do is extremely meta because if you ask ChatGPT, what is the most skeptical market? Act like a market researcher. What's the most skeptical market? For me, at least, maybe it's different for other people. ChatGPT told me it was financial professionals. So if I'm successful at marketing to the most skeptical market in the world, I can probably help you with whatever your market is. Take that for what you will. It's like the processes that I'm using. Like, for example, I will say this frequently in my emails. The fact that you're reading this right now is proof that it works. One of my ads, this got rejected for some reason. I don't know if Facebook changed their algorithm, but it used to be, I had an ad that led to a page that said, you're on this page because you clicked a Facebook ad. I kind of know how Facebook ads work. and it would segue into whatever it is. I had the same thing for LinkedIn. I was like, you're on this page because you clicked an ad. I kind of sort of know how to get people to click ads. Maybe you should let me teach you how to get people to click ads. So that's the meta part of it.
Yeah.
And that all the ad clicks and that sort of stuff comes from the branding that you're talking about, not from 42.9% of financial advisors found that when they did this, it just, can that work? Sure. Well, I will say this. Yes, it works, but it doesn't attract the type of person that I personally would like to help.
You're repurposing what you do and showing them, if you just follow what I'm doing, you will have the success that I'm having reaching you and converting you. You just have to create a repeatable process, and I can show you how.
Yeah.
And it's it's interesting.
Let me see if I can find it. One of the direct mail pieces that I mailed to fee-only financial advisors. And the headline says, "You're on this page because you received a letter in the mail from me. So please read this carefully." And the opening says, "First, I'd like you to take a minute and think about what's happened so far. I sent you a letter in the mail. You became interested, even if only a little bit, and you're on this page right now. That's marketing, my friend. So I practice what I preach. I'd like to help you do the same sort of thing in your business." That's a killer opening, because that's the proof of concept that I referenced earlier. When they read that, they think, whoa, he's right. He got me.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I like that one. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you and I could talk for like 2 hours about this, but I want people to be able to find you and your services. And I'm pretty sure it's theadvisorcoach.com.
Yes, it's choose your own adventure. So you can do whatever you want once you get there. So while I'm on my page, let me click to the home page. So once you get to the home page, the opt-in at the beginning will probably be different by the time this comes out, but you've got the podcast, you've got the blog that you mentioned earlier, you've got the email list, and it says, I'll email you with something new every day. If you can't handle daily emails, do not subscribe. I mean that. I think some of the dumbest people in the world have to be people who sign up for email list and then unsubscribe right away. Like, what did you think you were going to get?
Right.
Did you think a pony was going to show up at your door? You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can buy something. I've got media appearances. That's underrated. I think that like stuff like this, I'm probably going to put this, almost certainly going to put this on the media page. I've got 8+ hours. I've got like a lot more that I haven't put on there yet. You could just learn more from me there. And then of course the newsletter at the bottom of the page. So tons of different ways to get involved in my world.
Yeah. It has been a pleasure talking with you. I'd like to do it again in the future.
Yeah. I'm game. Maybe sometime in 2025, and we can talk about different marketing experiments and things that I have noticed, because I have a lot in the tank that I'm going to survey financial advisors. I'm going to ask them very personal questions, and I'm going to try, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to try to take that data and that information and make better stuff and go from there. But I don't have some super secret juicy stuff yet, but I will.
I will want to hear all that super secret juicy stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, man. It was a pleasure.